𝐁𝐨𝒂𝒂𝒍𝒂𝒂𝒍𝒏𝒕. Welcome to my channel. I'm here to uplift, support, inspire, and hopefully that empowers you to be the best version of you are meant to be, because that's what you are here to do. That our purpose is in our being, our beingness, more of that than the doingness. It's funny because it reminds me of Romper Room with the do-be, be a good do-be. And it's like, wait a minute, do and be, which is it? Do be, that's what it is. It's for you to do you to be you. It's in the being that often you're doing more than just the doing. That feels exhausting because it's not in alignment with our mind, body, and soul. On the spiritual, the mental, emotional, and physical planes, because it's all connected across all time and space. And here we are, once again, in this realm, in this reality. We've been here before. Can't you tell? Can't you feel it? Can't you feel the tension in the air? How are you doing? How is your heart today? What's on your mind? What heavy thoughts and burdens do you carry? So I titled this one, Take It Easy and It Will Come Easy. Because for myself over the past week, I was sitting with my own stuff. We all got stuff. It's always another layer to peel back away, to reveal more of our truth and who we truly are, not just the labels we identify with or the stories that we tell as we cast our spells, but in true essence of being, that we literally are creating at all times. I really do feel we underestimate our own power and ability to manifest. My last video was about manifestation is creation. Your creation is a manifestation, which is whether it's a choice, a thought, or an action. You are creating all the time, which means you're manifesting all the time. So to downplay and say, oh, things don't come easy. Well, in your mind, you've created the story. So then the things will appear as you say them. Casting your spell, putting the hook out there to fish it in. You put the energy, the vibration in, and that's what it feeds you back. It's first in, first out, as accounting principles would be. FIFO. First in, first out. You send the energy out, it comes right back at you. The waves, when you go to the ocean, you go to the beach, do you ever notice the waves go out, but they come right back in? Just like when you're breathing in, it comes out. And when you're breathing out, you got to breathe back in. Slowing it down with the beginner's mind, observing. Can you slow down enough to be able to witness not just your thoughts, but maybe as if you're stepping outside of yourself to see how your life is unfolding and revealing itself to you? So our bodies are literally representations of our story. Our bodies are the story of our lives, because every choice you've made is deeply imprinted into your beingness, your physical body. And I think that's less considered. Oh, I'm just getting older. This is just what happens when you get older. That's a story. Everything's a fucking story. And you can get addicted to stories because the stories will enable and support the ego versus, is that story really working for you? How about, do you really want that to be your story? Because you get to change your story by changing the story you tell. Because every story you tell is you casting your own spell. So again, you just like fishing, you can throw it out there. And whatever you throw out there is what's going to come back at you. And that could be anything from a thought, planting a seed, an action, an inaction, a choice, a non-choice. because a choice and a non-choice are choices too. So there's so much that we can figure out from all of this. But out of curiosity, wherever you're tuning in from, let me know in the comments, what's coming up for you in this extreme, intense, woo, everybody's feeling something. Something's burning and something's like coming to the surface. And when I say burning, I really feel like we're getting a clearing out. I know for me last week, I had a full-on, very productive week. I was able to get my nose to the grindstone and get some things done and off my desk that I had to get done, that I wanted to have accomplished by the end of the week. And that felt so satisfying and so gratifying that I decided to celebrate myself. And this is something we forget to do, that when you have goals and you accomplish them, how do you celebrate? How do you reinforce? Because that's the whole thing. In order to be courageous, you have to exercise your courage muscle. In order to have a strong constitution, strength, conviction, confidence, you have to do things. You have to repeat them to reinforce them. And so in order to reinforce your own good behavior, you also have to celebrate it and give yourself a treat, give yourself a gift. Remind yourself, wow, we got that done. So how are you going to celebrate it? Whatever you decide is something that should feel special. It should feel exciting, like eating dessert after the most decadent meal, and the dessert is just literally like, oof, oof, ooh. And I'm a foodie, so I can say that. Because life really is full of riches. It's abundant with indulgence and decadence, which, even in that word, I was reflecting upon the word decadent. I was like, that has its own duality in it and duplicity, meaning decadent can be forbidden. It can be, what's the word I'm looking for? When you go against morality, immoral. It can sound immoral. It can seem to be maybe even a taboo, an indulgence, a decadence. But it depends on you. Because the words will always have meaning because of vibration and energy. And so we have to be very clear and intentional with the words we choose and the stories we tell. Because again, we're casting a spell. We are literally creating, as we cast out the words, cast like a fishing hook. As we tell a story, we are creating our lives, past, present, and future. Even the story you tell about your past is reinforcing your present, the gift of now, and the future that's unfolding. We need to be so much more intentional and focus. Great one. I have this conversation with my family a lot around, are you solution oriented or are you problem focused? If you get stuck in all the but, this is what you're expecting, but that's only based on your filters and your perceptions of what you've experienced in the past, because the ego only knows what it knows, instead of creating something it doesn't know, which is where we need to retrain the brain. We need to retrain and master the mind to get it to go from the problems to the, it's already taken care of. It's already solved. It's not an issue. But when you've lived a lot of trauma and you've been hypersensitive, hyper alert, in stress mode, like this was something I was sitting with. I was like, how much tension we hold in the anticipation of the resistance. How many of you out there don't even realize you're fighting the receiving of what you desire? That instead of allowing it, you're anticipating a fight. You're already looking to fight for what you think you deserve, or stand up for your rights, however that sounds for you. And that in that anticipation, you're creating exactly that. And I say this from my personal experience, that there was a lot of fight, that I have been the fucking storm. I have been the waves crashing, like when I go to the beach, it's a cleansing, it's a clearing. And I see how it's influenced, and it influences me. I influence it because it influences me. It's this, we have this symbiotic, energetic relationship with nature, but most people aren't that tapped into it. So like when I go and take a walk, I see how the wind blows and the trees and the leaves and they're waving and they're, you know, they just look for your acknowledgement that you're even paying attention. Are you really present to the beauty and the gifts of nature as nature's acknowledging you? Are you reciprocating that acknowledge back? Are you reciprocating that acknowledgement back to nature? This is intentionality. This is mindfulness. This is you being present. Present is the gift in your awareness of what's going on in you and all around you is you. It's all you. Even the people you encounter, that's a reflection of you. It is you. And one of the things that I have come to the conclusion in my life is everything you're seeking is going to end up coming right back at you. It's all you. When you hear the talk about the cosmic collective, you know, I like to say collective collaboration, but collective consciousness and the hive mind and all this stuff and the hijacking of it all, and it's us doing it to us for us. It's really, it can be a Jedi mindfuck if you really get too caught up in it, but at the same time, it's also beautiful. The orchestration of it, like that's true love, that's true art, that's beauty. That's creation. This is our manifestation. All the chaos is just as beautiful as the joy and the celebration. But you don't recognize one or the other unless they're off balance. You don't notice there's a problem unless you're not in your joy. If you're not in your foundational truth, knowing, like, I know who I am, I know my shit, and I own that too, how are you going to recognize that outside of you? You spot it, you got it. You point a finger out, you got 3 back at you. Everything you think you see outside of you is you inside of you. That's why this world is a world of contrast, duality, polarity. It's a test. And it's there to trick you up and trip you up too. Because it plays games. It is a game. It's called the game of life. And that's the beauty of it all too. But can you soften? Can you slow down enough to acknowledge yourself as the witness of you doing and being? You doing you, you being you. Like you just set back. When you meditate enough and you're able to go slow down, everything's in slow motion and you're literally watching, witnessing. You are the witness as well. And it's like, wow, how amazing are we? And that up to this point in this life experience, when you look back, for me, I can say when I was a little one, my younger self, I still had a connection to source. And they the first thing out of the womb, they're already pricking our heels and they're already sticking stuff in us. Do you ever question why? Because they know the power within us, that when we were born, we knew exactly what we were here to do. We remembered where we came from. And as many of us who still remember, we're seeing others waking up to it. I was having a reflection earlier today about the story of Adam and Eve, right? The proverbial the bite of the apple off of the forbidden tree. And I'm like thinking, isn't that similar to Snow White? And the apple, the poisonous apple that put her in a deep slumber? What if that story were really about us being cast under the spell of duality? That the origination of humans, man, where we were innocent, and I've spoken about this, that, you know, there were these black magic sorcerers running around saying, hey, we're hunting witches, and the only way you can prove, they made you prove even though you had nothing to prove. And you were so innocent and naive to allow them. And they said, we'll inject this in you. And when they got you to inject it, even though they really didn't need to do that, there was no such thing as what they were claiming to be witches except for the projection of themselves upon them. By injecting you, they figured they could get away with a whole lot more with you and all of us. And that the idea is to continue to keep us under the spell, the deep sleep, the sleep. I'm going to call it the death sleep. What did I write? I wrote this down earlier. Like, I'm telling you, talk about channeling some information. It's a death grip. And it's always been a spiritual war for the soul, okay? And when you hear this was always known as Satan's den, and then you start looking at correcting your status, you start to see if you can go further. It's not about like collecting the 𝐒𝐤𝒃 trust and all that stuff. That's like small potatoes. The reality is, can you bring yourself back from the dead? Because this entire system is a dead entity. We're operating in the public means debt. It means corpses. It means dead hands. The only thing that brings things to life is the signature of a living human being, but you're representing yourself as a dead entity. And that when you start to realize, like the apple in the Garden of Eden, similar to Snow White placing us into this deep sleep, the apple didn't give knowledge is what I'm starting to think. It infused drama, half-truths, shame, duality, and contrast, distrust in self. What if the story of, oh, that was the apple of knowledge, was really that they put us under this deep spell to fall in line with the stories they tell? They've taught us who is a significant figure, who is an authority, and we've just fallen in line with it, never questioning. Some of us questioning authority from the moment we're born. We're like, what the hell? I just don't get this. And that when you look out at the world stage and the technology that can put on a show, and you don't even know if it's real or not, and people buying into it. The fact that there are data warehouses full of cell phones and technology to create bots, to keep people on social media platforms arguing over insignificant little piddly shit that has nothing to do with your life. It's called hijacking. Hijacking the hive mind, trying to infect the collective consciousness through this all-inclusive equality bullshit. Let me tell you, yes, we are communal. Yes, we are tribes. And not everybody's going to agree and get along. But it's about aligning with those who do individually align with one another. You're never going to get equality. That is like, I'm sorry, at what point? That is to the end. The ends mean is what they want you to believe, because they've created the inequality. We are equal. The problem is we never had inequality. They told us we were not equal. So that's why we'll never have equality, because it's based on their bullshit, their stories, their lies, and the spells they tell. And by listening and engaging, you're infusing and feeding the parasitic system, which is dead. When you start to learn about the process of corporate contracts, dead entities, corporations are dead entities, and you start learning the language and stop assuming you know, because they presume you don't. They know you don't. They see you as ignorant. They see you as retarded. Literally, it is a mental disability, which is why you are not of age of a majority. You are still a minor and a ward of the state until you can stand in your foundation and your own truth. That's what creates the true trust, is the trust in you. And so where there was once innocence, there was enticing decadence. The devil seducing us into believing death was eternal, where it was our life, which made us immortal. So they flipped the scripts, and this is my interpretation of what I just sat with and channeled today. I got like pages of notes, but essentially the way I feel it turned around is they put us in a deep spell. I don't know how many years. I'm not trying to make shit up. I don't have an answer, but I sense it because I know we've been here before. This is in our first rodeo. And so they put us under this spell, and the devil came along and seduced us. Again, I'm going to repeat this. The devil seducing us into believing death was eternal, where it was our life which made us immortal. The soul is infinite. It will always be here and there and everywhere. Energy is consistent. It's always in motion. Even the stagnant, even the solid, the matter that forms, because all I am is a bunch of pixels of energy that we all just defined at some point. We created this image. You know, I manifested you seeing me as me and me seeing you as you and such. It's fucking fascinating. I find it, this is beautiful. Like, we are some serious creators and manifestors. Like, we are magic. Imagination. I Magi Nation. Humans in unity. I go back to, again, yes, they feed off of our need to connect with one another, but they're trying to create this extreme tribe that not everybody's gonna align. We have to be the ones to decide that, not let someone decide it for us. Like, don't be the victim of your circumstances. Be the victor of your choosing. You are the solution. You are the one you have been waiting for. Now stand up and step into that power. That's what this really is about, is people stepping into their personal power and stop playing into the, I need someone else to speak for me. I need someone else to do it for me. Because they tricked people into believing that they had your best interest at heart. And we all know that's not true. And who do we have to blame? Nobody but ourselves. Up into the age of when you become an adult, you can blame your parents, but at a certain rate, you start becoming the adult and you got to stop blaming them. You may have stuff to resolve and you need to work on that. We all do. We all got shit. You got to unpack that shit so it's not on your backpack everywhere you go. You're not holding and carrying a load. So we are literally waking ourselves up right now and bringing ourselves back to life from the dead. And this is the crazy truth. This whole status correction thing I've been going through goes so much deeper than just claiming money. Like I said, that's just a huge part of the vibrational energy and currency that we collect. It's a reflection of our confidence. It will come to you naturally when you can take it easy and allow it. It will come easy when you start to take it easy. You stop putting up the fight. You stop anticipating, like pushback. You find the way, like the currency, you ride the wave in the direction, the flow. You go in the direction of least resistance. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be unfamiliar and uncomfortable because you've never done that before. So you have to condition yourself to change those patterns. New neural pathways, that's what change is all about. It's you doing something outside of your comfort zone. And once you start to do that over and over again, you start to become more confident. Repetition is the key to mastery. So you start to begin to master confidence. Wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Oh, I didn't get the pushback I anticipated. Oh my gosh, it's really not that difficult. You put things in writing on paper, you CYA, you get notary, sign this, so sign that. You start quoting and looking up and reading, getting informed instead of being informed and told. You do your due diligence. That's the key to beating the resistance within you and outside of you too. If you stand in foundation, you stand in trust. That is standing in your truth. That we are so much stronger than we give ourselves credit for, and 9 times out of 10, we're underestimating ourselves. And most of the time, I will say this, it's because people have been beaten down so much into submission they're still in trauma and they're not addressing it. And what you suppress will express in the physical form. Like I said, the body keeps score. The body is the story of your life. What story is your body telling? Is that the story you want to tell? Are you aging quickly? Why? What are you in such a rush to die for that you're not living in this life now? So something that dropped in regards to this dead entity, because I was talking it out loud earlier and I'm like, wow, wait a minute here. So in the public, everything is considered debt. And ultimately, it's all dead entities. And you can't maintain that because it's meant for the living. Let's say the private is where all the assets and the financial stuff, actually the true currency and energy resides in the private. It's keeping your affairs in order and not sharing it with people who don't, I say people, persons and entities that are trying to suck off of you and make you bring them to life and do their bidding. The hidden hand, the dead entity, the hidden hand, the Mordmain, the dead hand, that gets you to do its dirty work as a living human breathing person, but human, but in some way, shape, or form, you're still representing yourself as the dead entity, the corpse lost at sea. When you start to step over the line into the private and you start to go, wait a minute here, I am not that. That all caps name is not who I am. That was created to control me, to play tricks on me, to get me to act as the trustee for these other corporations that are inappropriately acting on my behalf. Because me as the living human, I am the beneficiary of what is due and what was promised. But as the dead entity, that's your taxpayer. That's the dead hand. You got to bring everything back to life. That's what a wet ink signature does, is it brings contracts to life. They need us to do their dirty work and their bidding, right? Then the hidden hand never gets its hands dirty. It's us. And if you think about this being Satan's den, think about all the contracts you've signed. And this might strike someone and be like, holy crap, because this is how it struck me. I was like, they always say you sign your life away. There's that old saying. And then there's the making a contract with the devil for your soul. From the moment we're born, we didn't even know, by taking our soul print, our foot, that soul, and the other soul, there's no coincidence it's the same word, just spelled differently. Because again, we're in this duplicity, we're in this double speak, where they want you to be in ignorance. Because your ignorance is your acquiescence to their way. You being submissive to them. And so when you sign a contract and you don't even realize you've been signing your life away, in so many cases, the only way to bring yourself back from the dead is to rescind and revoke all those old contracts you were not given. You signed under duress. You weren't given fully informed consent. It was deceitful and misleading information and languaging, deliberate intent to mislead. It's in most all of the codes. It's a matter of people just finding them and writing that and actually reading and recognizing that what is really going on is trying to keep us in this dead space. And that this whole world, I feel like this is the golden age, that we get to bring this world back to life, because it's been living in the hell of death. All of commerce, all of banking is based off of debt and death. Isn't it ironic? The old terminology, the only two things certain in the world are death and taxes. It's no coincidence. They're trying to convince us that death is the the eternal, like we're going to die and be gone forever, but yet we're not living. And that really the living is what makes us immortal. I don't know if that resonates. I don't know if that really like strikes that chord, but for me it did. Because there's a lot coming up to the surface. And when I said earlier about like, we've got this huge, I mean, this is a powerful full moon. I had something happen this past week. Okay, so I said that I did a lot of profound documentation. I did a lot of stuff this week that I was really proud of myself, okay? And I think we should always celebrate when we get things done, like I said. So my celebration was to go to the beach yesterday. And I had a girlfriend go with me. And something karmic, I manifested this. And I'm still kind of like, it was so surreal. And my life is so scripted and so unbelievable sometimes, the stories that I can tell you. This is why, again, it really could be a book. Actually, it could be many books. I know it can be, and it will be. Yesterday, I swear, I was given the biggest karmic kiss from the universe. That I wanted to go one beach, but I decided to go to the other beach because it was closer and there was less traffic, which meant less people. The tide was as low as I've ever seen it. So that moon was really sucking it out. I mean, I haven't seen it that low. And my girlfriend and I were just having a wonderful, like, laissez-faire day. And it was, to me, it was a celebration of joy and play, go to the beach, have little mushrooms. And I'll tell you this. We were putting the pop-up tent up because she's fairer skinned. And again, it's what I said, taking it easy will allow things to come easy. And she was trying to tie it down so the wind, because it was very windy, the wind kept knocking my floppy hat off my head. And I just walked over and I'm like, why are you making this so challenging? Just let it loosen up and it will, you know, the knots, right? It was the naughty knots. It was kind of interesting. And it's also psychological, because a lot of times we don't realize how we create more tension physically, but also we also tense things up around us as a result of what's in us that's not resolved and we don't lighten up on. And so I proceeded to show her in a soft and gentle, loving way. Let me show you. And she's like, wait a minute, how'd you do that? I'm like, you just let up. You just loosen it up. You just let it come undone, right? And then I put it in a bow, and she was doing all this complicated stuff. And I said, it's not that complicated. Like, we were laughing and joking about it. And then as I went to go out into the water, there were these people just standing, and there was something strange about this environment. I'm like, something strange here. And I'm not even going to tell the whole story because it's still so surreal and so memorable, imprinted in my memory. Like, I was in such a playful mode that I was ignorant of whoever or whatever they were, and it just seemed strange because all I wanted to do was get in the water, because I'm like, Kathy, come on, let's go in the water. And she's like, okay. I said, we can take care of the rest of the stuff after we get wet. And as I'm walking, there's somebody standing in my way. In my mind, I'm thinking, why are these people standing here with a backpack at the water? Why don't they just go make themselves a spot and decide what they look so perplexed and confused, like they were like dazed and confused. Like, what is it with people just not getting their shit together? I'm thinking to myself, you're at the beach. What are you doing standing there? I put my stuff down and get in the water. And as I was approaching, they were in this freeze mode. It was so bizarre. And as I walked past, literally within a foot, and then I turned back and I realized, I think I know these people. This one of the people. I don't know the other person. I was like, there's something familiar about this. And I'll be straight up, I didn't say anything. I started to want to say a name, and then I started to think, maybe I'm imagining this. And even if I'm imagining this, I'd be a little embarrassed if I just, hey. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe I could say, do we know each other? I almost said that too. And then when I looked over my shoulder and I saw the person, and I saw them go to speak, and then they clamped up because it was as if they didn't want me to hear their voice. And so my girlfriend and I turned around and walked right past him again to go to the other direction of the water because there were so many rocks. You had to navigate, you know, with the rocks with the barnacles. And it hurts when you stub your toe in the water. And as I'm walking, I said to my friend Kathy, I said, this is going to sound really bizarre. I hope I'm not I don't know if I'm imagining it. I'm just telling it and talking this out loud. And I talked it all out loud with her. And I was like, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's somebody I know. And I told her, and and we had a continuous, I was just formulating it and thinking it out loud and speaking it out loud. And she goes, you're speaking it into existence, and maybe that's what you needed to do. And at first she thought I was like making shit up. I said, I don't know. And then I said, if you look back, they left. And the way the person was moving the shoulder bag, I was like, that looks just like. And I was like, wow. And I didn't say anything. I just went about my joy. I just continued to enjoy the beach. But like my girlfriend, I said, you know, sometimes in my life, in my past, I don't know if anybody else out there has experienced this, the universe has protected me. It's the most, like, you ever feel like you're the last to figure something out? Do you ever feel like after you've been in an encounter, like you were frozen and you didn't know what to say at the time, but afterwards you were like, man, if I were there again, if I could go back in time, this is what I would have said. Or I didn't get it at the moment, but then it's like afterthought and hindsight, you're really starting to formulate and go, is that what just transpired? Like, I've had that happen so many times in my life, but I also recognize how the universe has used that to protect me. It has used me in a way to hold me back from myself in some cases, but also to avoiding unnecessary drama in some cases. In this particular case, I don't think I would have done anything. I have no idea how I would have handled it had I been more alert to see it like a big, it's in your face. It was more like, it's there, but it's not as significant as I thought it might be if I saw that person again. So she said to me, you handled that so well with grace. I said, well, what else was I going to do? I said, I wanted to say something, but then I didn't necessarily want to say anything. And then at the same time, what was that? Where was that going to go? I said, wow, did I just encounter? And she said, it was really beautiful too. It's almost like you just got the biggest karmic kiss. And like I said that too, because instead of having an altercation or a confrontation, sometimes people show up so the universe can allow you to have your own closure, not the way you thought you were going to get it, but in a way that's even more empowering. And so I was like, wow, I manifested that. And the reason I say I manifested that is because about a month prior, I had sent a message that said, you know, essentially in the message, I said, you know, it's been so long, neither one of us knows until we're in person how we would respond to one another. It's been so long. What is the fear of you for me to see me or even have a conversation? Other than the fact that I personally know this individual just doesn't want to deal with it. And that's not my shit. And then I was like, wow, after all these years, and after a month ago saying that, I literally manifested it. And I showed how my girlfriend, I was just like, you're in my way, dude. You're, you know, like, to me, after I realized it, I was like, huh, you're so insignificant in my life. All I wanted to do was enjoy the water. You have no power over me. If that makes sense for anybody out there, a lot of times we think we need closure with individuals. I was telling her, I said, I still have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder over some things. I own that. I said, yeah, I think it's, you know, there was a lot of shit that pissed me off. It was hard. It was really fucking hard. But at the same time, I'm grateful that I'm in that space now of my life, that period where I feel like I have more grace for myself, more respect for myself, more compassion for myself. That why would I make a scene? Why would I do anything to belittle myself or, you know? And so she said, yeah, it was like, you showed him basically that he didn't mean anything. I said, yeah, insignificant. All I wanted to do was enjoy the beach. And I had the most amazing, magical day as a result. That put me on cloud 9. And you know why? Because that's all I needed. Was the universe delivered me the karmic kiss. Now, in his case, he might have felt like he had the karmic kick up the ass because he didn't expect that. But that's the irony in life. The more you avoid something, the more you think you can get away with things, eventually that shit will find you. And I'm just grateful I'm in a space that I don't have to lie. I don't have to make up a story. I'm okay with me. And I'm in my vulnerability. I mean, yesterday I was actually quite vulnerable with my girlfriend. I said, wow. I'm still kind of like, what? Did that just happen? Did that just happen? I wasn't even fully there because I wasn't even thinking about it. It caught me off so much that I didn't realize it was so insignificant that when it was right there, it didn't matter anymore. And when I owned that and I was able to really get that in the hindsight, in the after, I called it the afterglow. Whew. And I sent a message to the person. I said, so nice to see you. Who would have thought, right? And I have to say that there's a little bitch in me that said, was it as good for you as it was for me? That's just my, that's my boss bitch Leo side that not everybody gets to see. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to say it. Because the truth of the matter is, I'm okay. And I said, thank you. Thank you for nothing and thank you for everything. You just served me the biggest blessing and you didn't even realize you were doing it. That the more that individual has avoided me, I got what I needed and they weren't willing to give it to me when I asked, but the universe did it for me. Did it for him, for me. Did it through him for me. So you might have avoided me all that time, but you still didn't have the balls to deal with it even in the moment that you were nearby me. You froze and then you fled. So I'm very grateful to share that because to me that was huge. And that I was like, you know, I knew the full moon was pretty powerful. I knew something was coming. I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming. So pay attention to what's happening in your life. What is coming up to be burned up? Because the intention I set with my girlfriend when we went out yesterday, I said, this is the intention we're going to set for today. What is the last layer? What is the last thing that needs to be removed, uncovered, revealed for me to be prepared for what's coming next? And I said to my girlfriend, I said, if I can manifest that shit, you wait and see what's next, because I already know what's coming. Because we have to give ourselves more credit. We need to also own our magic. We are magic. We are manifestors. We are creators. We are the architects of this existence. Even the dead part. Like, we need to bring ourselves back to life. So more people are waking up to their truth and seeing things for what they are, not like, whoa, how did I not see this? I mean, how many of us are like, was this always this way? Was it? We don't know. But I see this as a big dream, and we're still waking up from it. Even as I speak, there's more to reveal. And so, what else did I come up with? I had to actually, and this is what started this week, and it adds to this, because initially the whole premise around taking it easy will allow it to come easy was that mantra. You know what mantra is? It's repetition. It's sound. And believe it or not, your thoughts create a wave. It creates a thought. creates energy, creates a ripple. It does create sound. It's all energy. You may not hear it out here, but you hear it in there. You know, it's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? Maybe to the tree, but maybe not to you. It's who's present in awareness to it. And so our thoughts are the currency that we ride that creates this system of energy. Our mind is like a bank. The money, the currency of our thoughts create our reality through the stories we create in our mind, because the banker, the mind, it's a builder. It constructs. It wants to create. So you have to direct it in the direction you want it. What do you want to create? If you're just allowing all this junk around you to infiltrate you and tell you what to think, which is what's happened, and you are at the behest of what they've told you is authority, and the reality is, how are they authority to you? Unless you allow them and give it to them. Until you reclaim your own authority, your inner authority and personal power, they will continue to rule over you. So mantra is sound current. It's also the instrument of the mind. We use mantra, and a lot of times we call a gutka, to cut through the repetitive thoughts that go through our minds. To retrain the brain means to also change the way we think. So whatever your most repeated thought is, that is what's creating your reality. And unless you're willing to sit in mindfulness and observance of what are you always thinking, what are the thoughts that run through your mind? Are you humble enough, willing enough, vulnerable enough, and courageous enough to sit with it when it doesn't feel so good? Whose voice does it even sound like? Is it yours? So all of the stories and the beliefs become those deep grooves that we get lodged in our minds. That's also how addiction happens. The deeper the groove, the harder to move. You have to reinforce positive thoughts, positive behavior, just like Pavlov's dog. In order to change your thoughts and your stories, you have to be able to know what they are to begin with. In conscious awareness of your most repeated thoughts, you can confront them, you can challenge them, you can rewrite them, change the story, cast a new spell, because every story you tell is a new spell. And then the fact that people talk about the Matrix. Do you know what the original meaning of the Matrix was? It's the womb. The womb. So let's go back to duplicity and languaging. We're all a part of the womb. Creation. There's nothing wrong with the Matrix. It's the way we think about it. That's what's wrong. Hey. And so, again, neutrality is the key. There's a lot of distractions out in the world that are going to try to hijack you. But if you can soften in and recognize whatever catches your attention, whatever triggers you, that's your unresolved stuff to work on. Like I say, whatever triggers you, that's your work to do. That's the stuff you need to confront and shift in you if you really want to be in your sovereignty, if you really want to be in neutrality, because choosing this or that, engaging in all of the discussions out there is what's creating the dis-ease within you. The misalignment in here is what's caused all this mess out here. Until we align with our truth, we're going to continue to see a bunch of lies. And when you are in your own truth and you are in alignment with your highest divine, you'll be able to spot the lies. You'll be able to trust yourself to see it for what it is versus what you want it to be. Instead of making excuses for something or telling a story for someone to enable or to, oh, they're really a good person. You're saying that because you're comparing yourself in the way that you would want someone to speak up for you. It's not necessarily always true for the other person. You're actually projecting it yourself onto that situation. 9 times out of 10, when you make excuses for other people, it's just you making excuses for you. You're placing yourself in that person's position and you are projecting yourself onto them. Now, most people don't want to admit that. You're always comparing yourself. Judgment is you comparing yourself. Discernment is your awareness of your comparison and owning it. And going, oh, I see my shit right there. I've been that asshole. Not today, Satan. That's a form of discernment versus, well, you know, they're a good person. They probably didn't mean it, blah, 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 blah. Listen, and nobody's got time for wasting on stuff that is not significant in your life. You need to drop it. Stop making excuses for other people. Learn to take accountability for your own life and you won't even have that issue. And then they have to learn to do that for themselves. But until you do it, how are you going to affect their change? Because that's how that works. Until you take it easy, other people around you are going to be just as much resistance for you and to themselves. So a lot of times the strong person in a circle will affect the ripple of change around them. And this is where we go back to tribes and communities and humans in unity. That the reality of what we want to see in the world, which is tolerance, is really been turned into aggression, violence, finger pointing without the accountability of the person pointing the finger. We have literally been gaslit into fights with one another. But the problem is that I have experienced that when you're used to fighting all the time, you look for a fight. So you have to recognize that it takes, and this took me some years, that not everything's meant to be a fight. That, you know what, sometimes things are easy, but you gotta lighten up. You gotta shake it off. You gotta like, squeeze it, and then let it go. Tension release exercises. When I teach yoga and I guide someone through a tension release, I have people come up to me all the time like, I had no idea how much tension was in my body until you had me do that. And I'm like, I get it. Because the body is holding on to shit it doesn't need. Because the mind won't let go. And until we are willing to surrender and let that shit go, how can we expect things to come easy? Because we're already fighting against it. You know, it's like, I want that, but you're pushing it away at the same time because you don't feel deserving of it. That's usually the underlying current and energy, that I don't feel worthy. So how can I receive it? How can I allow it? I can't expect that, but I want it. A lot of people will actually deny it verbally and say, oh, that's, you know, whatever excuse, whatever thing they make it. They call it something. They talk down on it when secretly that's what they want. So if it wasn't important, they wouldn't even speak about it. But you can listen between the words. You can pay attention. You can see physiologically in the individual their truth, because their body's going to show you. Their energy, you're going to feel it. Their words are going to express it even if they're suppressing it. So people have to remind yourself, all of our shit shows. Even when you don't think it does, and you think you're able to lie to somebody and say, oh no, that's not true. And I've had that done to me, and I'm like, who do you think you're talking to, really? I come from an intel background. I see patterns, I connect dots. You don't think I figured it out? And you're gonna, to my face or to a text, I'm like, really? That's a rough life. And God bless you. That's exhausting. And then people wonder where disease comes from. Cancer especially. Cancer is you not addressing the deep lies you tell yourself. Or fibromyalgia, the touchy subjects. Everybody's going to figure it out for themselves. And you have to recognize what's true and relevant to you in your life. Because you really want to focus your energy in the priorities, not in the superfluous, it has nothing to do with me. It's like last night, I picked up my phone and I said, something's going on. I don't know what, because I don't pay attention to the news. So you know what I do? I open up Twitter. Twitter will tell you the trending topics and what's on the news. And the first things that popped up were things like Project Bluebeam and MK Ultra and the Vatican. I was like, huh? I was like, oh, okay. And there's all this uproar and unrest about what they said. And I said, you know what? To my girlfriend this morning, who fucking cares? Who cares? You see how they trick you into getting involved and pointing a finger and say they're a bad person because this, that, or the other? Who cares? Why are you even giving them that much attention and significance that you would even have an opinion about it? The fact that they have convinced people that you have the right to an opinion and that you should voice it, that in itself, like, we know when to keep our mouth shut. Like, in my day and age, you knew when to just shut your mouth. You didn't create a problem because you didn't open your mouth and you didn't invite it. But the moment people open their mouths, or, you know, social keyboard warriors and stuff, that they don't even realize they're creating their own struggles, their own confrontations, just from an opinion that has nothing to do with anybody else. And it has no, the Italians would do this. It has no meat. It has no matter or substance. It's nothing. It's fluff. You know, it's a thought. And the thing about thoughts, I gotta say this, thought diffusion. You need to create space from the thought to recognize that it's just a sentence in your mind. I was listening to 𝐒𝐿𝐿-𝐻𝐼, and this was just so brilliant. And I love that she pointed this out. This is a new term I hadn't heard, but I love it. Thought diffusion, thought diffusion. Because that's essentially what you're doing when you are becoming the witness as you observe, as you're doing your mindfulness practice, as you're meditating. Is you're stepping back and creating space between yourself, the situation, and even the thoughts. Like you're observing all the moving parts, even while you're a part of it. And in doing that, you start to recognize these are just stories. She said sentences. I'm sitting here going, it's a story. The mind is a builder. It's going to construct a story. It takes words, makes a sentence or two, and there's a story. And then it doesn't even need to be true. Somebody has an opinion. That doesn't make it a truth. And so why do people get so worked up over someone else's opinion or someone else's words? That shows how much power you give away when you engage in that shit, in that drama, in that trauma. It's not even yours. But see, when you are still addicted to your own trauma, you will engage in it all over the place. It's like, blah, blah. It's like, what is that, leukoplegia, the vomit? Like, you're just, blah. Like, I gotta get this shit out of myself. You don't even realize what you're doing is you're trying to, it's actually an inner child thing where you're trying to like get that old shit out through your mouth, and you don't realize you're not intentional with it. You're not mindful of it. You're not conscious of it. There's no actual structure to it. It's just all over the place. And I was like that when I was younger. I would get upset about something. I'd be like, but did you, and you know, my Leo temper tantrum and such. We all do it. Just own it. But again, what's the best course of action for this thought, on this thought? How do I respond? How am I feeling it in my body? How's that actually aligning or misaligning? If you act on a thought, you're going to reinforce that thought to happen again. The deeper the groove, the harder to move. Good or bad doesn't matter. And it becomes matter because most thoughts can be disproved, but in your mind, your ego wants to be proven right. That's the problem where people have been hijacked into this system, the dead system of proving yourself. How about just being a human? Be a good human. You don't have to get one up over on another person because back when you were younger, someone got one over on you and you still haven't resolved that shit. Why are you still trying to like supersede or like overpower others? Because you felt somebody did that to you. We repeat the patterns and the behaviors that were imposed upon us until we wake up to the fact that that's not us. But you have to become aware of it. You have to recognize the thoughts and the grooves that have been imprinted into you as a result. You got to create new habits and new thoughts. It's just a sentence in your mind. It's just a story. And you are the narrator. You are the creator. You are the producer of your own movie and your own show. But the question is, are you allowing yourself to be the star, or are you engaging and becoming the extra in everybody else's? Especially in the social media arena. Most people are so lonely. And this is the thing I've said before, coming from a technology background, IT, we have more information coming at us, barrage of, most of it's not true. Most of it is designed to hook you. It's not even necessarily relevant to you. We're inundated and overwhelmed, overstimulated, that most people don't know how to let go of it. We are so connected, we're disconnected. I've been saying this for years. The more technology connection we've gotten, the less actual interaction, engagement, and connection with real humans in person most people have, where you see the person constantly like this. And it takes like, wow, ooh, I need to get off that. I need to do a detox off of technology. And then you get the frequencies that got amped up, and they turn the switch up on that too. And why am I having headaches? Why are my allergies increased? I hear all of this. And I'm going, technology. Because it's always been to keep the veil of this deep sleep so that people don't remember. Remember, that's us coming together, as well as mentally remembering. And also, physiologically, the gnosis of knowing your truth. Know thyself. So, taking things easy so things can come easy starts with slowing down. It's giving yourself grace, giving yourself space. Because truth is that when we are tense or in stress, we're attracting that same vibrational match. How many times have you started out your day just in a shitty mood, and then everything just escalated from there? And then you started out another time, great mood, and everything was fantastic. You attract where you're at. And that's why it's important to meditate in the day, to reset that. So that's not the only way. That's not the only thing you experience. If you are having a shitty day, that's when you need to meditate the most. Sit your ass down and give yourself a talking. Confront the mind and be like, okay, what the hell's going on here? What is your problem? And talk it out if you have to. Write it out, right? Take no ledge. Yeah. Or the bank, right? Currency, water, isn't that irony? Saying there's not enough water in the world and yet the world's filled with banks. Yeah, I can go on to that subject. If you expect or anticipate things to be hard, challenging, a struggle or a fight, you're right. What you anticipate, you attract and you create. The only thing that tends to satisfy is the ego. And I said that throughout this video. I can't stress it enough. It's not the heart that leads you astray. It's the head that gets in the way. But it's up to us to be humble enough and go, I don't need to be right. It's okay to be wrong. In fact, sometimes I really, really like it when I'm wrong. And I'm grateful. That's the reason you need to surrender and let go. Because that's where the flow exists. That's where things come easy. That you let go of those unnecessary expectations because they're not there to serve you. Let go of the idea that it can't or won't be easy, especially for those of us who have, like I said, lived in this hyper awareness of like, oh my gosh, something's going to happen, the ball's going to drop, the shoe's going to fall, whatever. You're anticipating the worst case scenario because you have lived in a chronic stress. You have had trauma that was unaddressed. And then the tension too, because your body and your breath, like your breath is the first thing you get tense and you stop breathing. Those are the two signs of you resisting and allowing. It's the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And when you're frozen, you're cutting off your own life support, your connection to source, your connection to all that is and all that you need. Why would you do that to yourself? It's a check-in with self. Allow things to surprise you. When you think something bad's going to happen, shift it into what's the best thing that could happen. Start making up those stories. Get familiar with it. Start practicing. Because, again, repetition is the key to mastery. You start practicing the best case scenarios, you're going to anticipate and create all sorts of beautiful stuff. But you have to allow your mind to go there. If you don't train the brain, you can't reinforce the power of your force because you are the creator. So, this is why drawing used to be really good for kids. Mantra, the mandalas, and you just get into a meditative state. That's a great way to meditate. I know when I mow the lawn and do yard work, my mind will go into all sorts of stuff. I'm like, look at that. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's an interesting thought. I'll ruminate on things too, and I'll be like, oh my God, please, this is enough. But that's how you become aware of what the heck's going on up in here. This is where you need to tap into the innocent beginner's mind of a child. That's how we shift it, is come back to the inner child who wants to play. It's the whole purpose of us being here. And your childlike wander and wonder. Like, wow, look at that little, oh my gosh, the lizards. I wonder what his life is like. I wonder if they have a family, I wonder if he thinks, what are his thoughts? So many curious things you can get lost in, the wander and the wonder of life. Be curious. Think outside your prison box. Because the mind of a child, it's spontaneous, it's creative, it's curious, it's excited, enchanted with life, and surprises. It likes surprises, so it expects surprises. When you were a kid, you remember, you were excited because you were waiting for some surprise of something and you were making up in your mind. And some of you probably did manifest the things you wanted. Yeah. I seem to think that meditation isn't just to immerse oneself to detach from this reality, but to actually enter into the true reality, the real. There is so much to discover and explore, but we're playing more into the known than venturing out into the unknown, which is where we all really want to be. Because that, again, like the child, spontaneous and curious, what life has in store for it. What's going to surprise and delight me? Just now, a butterfly went by. Ooh, there's a dragonfly. Look at the pretty wings. Look at the colors. Isn't it amazing? All of nature and just all the different expressions. It's art. It's all art. And it's all there for me to appreciate and be inspired to create from that too. And that if you're stuck, if you get stuck, move. Just move. Take a walk. Jump up and down. My rain stick my sister got me. I love this. It literally sounds like rain to me. Even better than some of the rain sticks I've heard before. This is the most beautiful one I've ever heard. Movement is medicine, and it's the only way to unlock the energies wanting to dance with life. The energies within us, our frequencies, our frequent keys to unlocking the gifts that we hold is to come together, is to remember, to unlock each other's ciphers and to play once again like we used to. And that these energies, we want to dance, we want to play. It's the immersion, it's the interplay of life that we are here creating. Your purpose isn't an idea, it's your beingness, it's your being. Being willing to take chances, stepping out of your comfort zone, trying new things, spontaneous adventures, pen on paper, art from the heart, bliss in a kiss, a whisper upon the wind, footsteps on the earth, memories imprinted on your heart and in your head, all of that and more. This life, we are truly blessed, but you have to be witness to it. So I hope that resonated for some of you out there. I don't know, there's so much more I could go into. Let me know in the comment. Isn't that beautiful? What a flow. I literally feel like we're waking up with like the living dead. I mean, it hit me today. I still can't get over this because I was recognizing for a long time since I've been working on learning, researching, diving deep into another rabbit hole. And I've seen and known this, that the spiritual war is all of it. It's you recognizing you're not what they told you you are. It's trusting your gnosis, your knowing, your being. You didn't come here to be a slave, but we've all been enslaved through the apple, that poison apple, because it's easier to get you to do the dirty work until you wake up and recognize that's not yours to do. It takes a lot of courage to step into a leadership role, to step into your personal power, to step into your gifts, to express them, to share them, to offer them, to receive them. And it takes a lot to not just follow. I was driving in the car today and I observe drivers. I feel like cars are an extension of a person's body. And so there'll be two lanes and then someone will slow down and then the person behind them will slam on their brakes. And I'm like, why don't you just go around them? Why are you so reactive and responsive that you feel the need to slow down instead of just go around? Like keep the movement, the flow. But then I recognize the indoctrination has people inadequately prepared to adapt to immediate change. And that it's easier to follow and copy someone else than to do it from your own innate, true nature. It's easier to mimic others' behavior than rely or trust themselves or choose an alternate approach. That right there, that's what we're here for. To stop going along to get along, to stop playing into the old, well, this is the way we've always done it. I mean, seriously, I could go down the list of all those old sayings that would make me go cringe, you know? It's like, oh, I'm so sick of hearing that. Nobody ever does anything for free. Everybody wants something in return. Nothing good comes without hard work. Are you kidding me? Let that shit go. Again, I'm gonna say, you gotta like soften. You've got to allow yourself to be in ease, because the only way for things to come easy is to take it easy. So I hope that resonated. I hope that served. I think I'm going to go back to the beach again today for sunset. So from my heart to yours, so much love. Take it easy and allow things to come easy, because you deserve to go easy on yourself. Most of the times people are tensed up because they're not allowing themselves to be easy on themselves, to give themselves compassion. You want others to be compassionate and to extend that olive branch to you. You have to do it for you too. You have to do it for yourself first. You have to set the example. Lead by example. What you do for you, you give others permission to do for you too. And with that, I bid you adieu. From my heart to yours, I love you. Yeah.